Hi, everybody. I am so excited that I get to spend some time with one of my friends who I don't talk to nearly enough, Dr. Tanmeet Sethi. How are you?
Good. Nitika. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
It's such a joy. Joy is my justice. Your book sits in front of me on my book, like my little book stack on my table every single day. And I remember when I first learned about your work, I was just like, what is that? Like there was like an aliveness that came through for me when I saw that because I felt like I read those words and there was just like an immediate resonance. And
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Oh, I never told you that.
no. And I think that makes so much sense though, because don't you think that we often think it's not fair that we don't have joy. So when we see joy combined with justice, it can often feel like, oh wait, I get to deserve it or what? Tell
Yeah.
me more. So that resonates for me. That's really beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love the feeling of like, tell me more. That's exactly what I felt. I was like, tell me everything. What is this all about? I love that. And I also love that we like recently kind of reconnected or just started spending more time in each other's orbit because of Substack. And your Substack is your integrative physician, which is linked on the side of my Substack if any of you are ever just like trying to find it, just so you know, but I'm also going to link it below. And I absolutely love it. And I've loved seeing how you have just really fully embraced so many of the concepts that like I know that you believe in, but going so deep into them and really like guiding people through like, okay, guys, like, come on, like, this is what we're going to do. Like, this is what's up. This is what's happening. And I just love that. I really
Oh,
love that.
thank you. That
Yeah.
means so much to me.
Oh yeah, I really mean that. I'm like always creeping on your on your Substack.
Oh my
Like,
God. I would creep with you anytime.
I'm like, good thing they don't have one of those like things that like you. Nithika was just on your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. It's literally that. But now I can just tell you, which is also good. But what is an integrative physician? I know we're going to be talking about lots of things today, but I just thought it'd be nice to kind of start with that because I think some people would be curious to know.
Yeah. I mean, technically, an integrative physician is one who's trained both in conventional modern medicine as well as integrating this is where the vagueness can come in, that we're all different, is integrating different aspects of other healing systems. So mine that I integrate are functional medicine, nutrition, mind body medicine, Ayurveda, and psychedelic work. It really, though, means what the commonality is, I think, is that integrative physicians look for the root cause of the symptoms. And so often, even in medical school or residency, I was taught to really band aid things to kind of make them stop. And then when that didn't stop it, do this to stop the side effect of that stopping it. And modern medicine is really beautiful for discovering so many amazing cutting edge tools, but it's lost its way in the wisdom of the body often and just understanding how to ignite the capacity to heal.
I love that. I'm so glad I asked you to explain that because I feel like I sort of know that because I've experienced it
Yeah.
personally, but I don't really know that I would know how to explain it to someone, to be honest with you. And I do get the sense that when people are seeking, they're often thinking about going to see, an integrative physician. But yeah, there's a lot of like ambiguity or vagueness around it. And as you said, everybody is different and I guess has different ways of getting to that root, essentially,
Yes. Yes.
which I think is really important to note as well. So we were talking before we started, and I am just so excited to talk to you about this because I feel like you are such a beautiful example of all the things that we're going to be discussing today. And I mean, did you know I'm like your biggest fan, by the way? Because
No, but I am your fan. So I love when fans can be fans of each other.
It's true. I can't stop gushing about you because I really do believe in your work and your truth like so much. It's really inspiring to see and witness. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me personally is, in talking to folks who have chronic illness and who are really in a true devastating place, right? And I
Yeah.
know you've been so open on your journey with your son and just like the reality of, yeah, okay, maybe you think everything happens for a reason. Maybe you think there's beauty everywhere. Maybe you think there's joy everywhere. Whatever your thing is, but it doesn't take away the reality of like when we are in serious pain or when we've experienced something really traumatic or when things with our body are relentlessly out of alignment and it's just heartbreaking, you know? And I know you've seen that in your journey as a mother with your son, and I've experienced that with my own body and seeing so many people in chronic con and in the chronic illness
Yeah.
community. But I really also have seen that for me, I'm noticing there's another, I don't really know all the ways to talk about it. So I get like a little jittery and nervous when I start talking about it. But that's why you're here. Because I feel like there's another way in the sense that, you know, stepping into this new way of being, into change, into seeing, okay, I'm in this trauma state, I'm in this really challenging place, but I actually want to make real change, not surface change. But I feel really overwhelmed by how to show people what that process is like and how to even ignite people on how to start, because I think people feel like it's sometimes impossible given their circumstances. So I would love to talk to you about this.
I love this.
Yeah, like your insights and truth around this.
Here's what I'm going to start with that really is just feeling really present to me is that I think anyone listening would understand that the more you're suffering, the more narrow our lens is on that suffering. That's not a bad thing. That just is what it is because it takes up and consumes all of us, right? That is the reality. What I would ask anyone who is wanting to see change, quote unquote, is to not change how we're suffering or change what we think about what's happening, but to say, how can I expand that lens a little more? Not to change it, but to hold it a little differently. And so if we went through our day step by step and day by day, understanding that our goal was expansion and not change, I think we might see it a little differently. I mean, I'm not sure. I've seen 25 years of people suffering, and I suffer like a human like everyone else. But I do know that I get that question a lot too, Nithika, is like, how did you get from here to here?
Yeah.
And when I say, you know, people say like, I just want to get here, forget what happened in the middle. But the middle is where the real human life is, right? And so I think it's hard to accept that we cannot change what is. And I'm there with you. I'm there with every human who feels that it sucks. And I would just nudge people to understand that if you expand what you see and feel a little bit every day, and we could get into the nuances of that, that might sound vague to people, but that's the basic premise that I think if you carry, you actually start to feel changed, but nothing has changed in front of you. You just see more.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that was so beautifully said. And what is coming up for me and like what I'm taking from what you're saying is a lot of the work I've done in the last couple of years. I'm like a broken record. I always talk about my nervous system coach, and I'm always talking about her because she's just changed my whole life. But it reminds me of that because one of the things she taught me was how when we're in fight or flight, we have like, and I know you know this because of everything that you do, but you don't see as much, like you physically don't see as much, which I had no idea. And then when you're in parasympathetic, you start to be able to see much more. And the way you're describing it, one, it kind of sounds like a transition from like one state to the other, but like a slow, like step by step. But I also feel like it's so true. Like it's also like a structural thing. That's what's coming up for me. There's like something in the body that like as you start to see more, something also shifts inside of you. Do you feel like that's true too? Or I'd love to hear that.
Yes. I think what you're really speaking to beautifully is this way that, now look, listen, everyone could understand this. It's biological and evolutionary. If you have a threat present, which can be a chronic disease, a threat of a dangerous person, the world, you know, whatever the threat is to your body is going to narrow, your mind and body are going to narrow the lens of only seeing that acutely so you can manage it. Nothing is wrong with you. That is what you're supposed to do. And yes, if you can say, but how can I also signal to my body that I am safe and connected, even if it's for a millisecond, how can I balance this and expand that view a little more? How can I see and feel what is also true? And I really mean this. It sucks. Anything we are struggling with that is that big, that we have narrowed down in that pinpoint, means that it is that big. It's hard. And there is indestructible goodness right next to it, in us and around us, that can help us hold it, that can help us see more. And if we understand that, then we are less reactive, because sometimes we're reacting to this idea of like, it'll be okay, you'll get through it, you're strong enough. You know, all these ways that actually don't ring true when we're in the middle of a very big threat. You know, we need to own the truth of the threat while owning the truth of what we have the capacity for beyond it. Well, that was good. I want to write that down.
I was like, that was good. That's exactly it. I feel like you just summed it up so beautifully, because I had this experience recently where I met somebody who was really in their trauma. And I kept remembering how when I was really in my trauma, which is when I was like bedridden in my 20s, no one looked at me and thought like, it's not reasonable for me to be like embedded in my trauma, right? It's like, duh, like, of course you're feeling this way. And I felt that way about this person that I recently met too. Like, I get it. Like, your story is so valid. But I was saying to them, like, you have a choice in every moment to pick up your trauma or to pick up your power. In her case, that was the thing that she was like really fighting against. Like, she's so powerful. And yet every moment she just kept picking up her trauma. She just kept picking up the story, the pain, the things that were done to her, all of that. And at least the way I'm interpreting what you're saying is like, it's bringing that to the surface of like, it doesn't make the trauma not true. Like, I still validate the fact that she went through this, or when I was going through my stuff, it's like, yes, this is painful. It's true. And I realized like the one thing I had was my mind, you know, like I could choose, which like not everybody can say that they have like all their faculties in their mind to do that even. But if you do, you know, I feel like, I don't know, that's the gem in all of it.
It is. And I will say for anyone listening, what I felt when people, I mean, because I got that too, right? Like you can choose in any moment. And I would feel my body tense, honestly, and get rigid. And I felt just like a remnant of that, even when you said it, because it's so reminiscent in my body. But because I've said that too, I think what happens is if we're told that, what we think is that we then, as you said, dismiss the truth of the trauma. And what I would ask people to understand is that we have far more capacity to hold more than one story than we think. You know, because when Nithika says you can choose your power or your pain or your trauma in that moment, you are totally right. And it doesn't mean that it invalidates that story. Right. And so I think what you're saying is really important, because, you know, I hear that when you speak about chronic illness, your own or those in your community, you're always reminding people that their experience is valid. I hear that over and over. And I would say that you can't say it enough, right? You say it over and over because it's good to remember that. And I think people just think that, you know, we'll lose part of our story. And think about it. If I lose part of my story, I'm losing part of myself. That is painful. And so what I would ask people is to remember that yourself is far bigger too, and that your stories can be bigger. You know, it's kind of like, I say this often, I can't remember if I wrote this in my book, but I say it all the time, is that, you know, that my son shattered every dream I had as a mother. Every single damn dream he shattered. And what I didn't know then was that the dreams he would make for me were far bigger than the ones he broke. And I really mean that, because my dreams for him now are far bigger than what I had, you know, and I mean that not as, I want people to understand that is different than positivity. That is seeing a bigger picture, and we all can hold a bigger story.
I think that's such a great thing to really think about, because positivity and what you just said like bump up against each other a lot. And I agree. I don't really walk around saying like, I'm so grateful that I got my first chronic illness at the age of 10 or whatever it is. You know, it's not really like how I talk about it, but I see a bigger picture. I see that honestly, God humbled me like so many times that I had to find a bigger truth than one I could find just sitting in my room right in front of me with like nothing happening, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't something that I would have probably chosen for myself, but I'm grateful in that way that it got me to a different place. So I think it's a little tricky when we talk about positivity and
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah, for sure.
the
And
ways
even
that.
if you look at what you just did was rewrote your story, right? And you included the story of the pain as well as the triumph. And that's what I think is really clear in your story and your work is that you really honor that you have triumphed through something that is still painful, something that still lives in your body. It's not like you are like, oh, I'm all good and I'm so glad this happened,
Yeah.
but you're really powerful in the way that you are living through it in a moment to moment way.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I hope, everyone listening and watching, I hope that you even just take like one thread of what we were talking about today. As, Dr. Sethi says, it's like just expanding a little bit at a time. Like you don't have to like hear all of this and be like, okay, now everything's good and done and changed. That's like the opposite of what we're saying. It's really about, taking that one piece at a time. You can like come back and watch this and see what else you learn like next time. So I really appreciate that. And I'm going to make sure to link your amazing Substack down below and people will check that out and also link your amazing.
Thank you.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this.
Well, I'm so glad to be in community with you here and, on Substack and beyond.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.